So they were like, hello, welcome to the fungus group. We're pretty fun guys. I'm just kidding. Let me make out with you with my tendrils.
Boo.
Hi, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Maddie. Welcome to Baddy Breakdowns, where we hang out, have fun, and play games all the way to the end. We're happy that you're here. Today, we are doing a part 2 continuation of our discussion of The Last of Us. In the first episode, we talked about the game, and now we're going to be talking about the show on HBO. We're going to really mimic the format of our last one, kind of talk a little bit about how the show was made, who made it, critical reception, and then we'll kind of talk about the first 2 episodes, which are the ones that have been released by the time that we're recording this. So let's get into it. I'm tired.
Oh, it's
so I'm gonna
late.
Get loopy.
All right. Well, Maddie, do you want to kick us off a little bit with how it's made?
So, The Last of Us TV show was a joint production between Sony Pictures, PlayStation Productions,
There's
and
a PlayStation
Naughty
production?
Dog. This is the first thing that PlayStation Productions has done.
Oh, okay.
It was created for HBO, and it's HBO's first video game adaptation.
Oh.
And it is also apparently the largest television production filmed in Canada ever.
They film like so many things in Canada, and this
Television.
Oh.
The largest television production filmed in Canada ever. They do film a lot of stuff in Canada. And it was filmed in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
And it was written by Neil Druckmann, who was the writer and director of the game Last of Us. And it was also written by Craig Mazin, who is best known for creating Chernobyl on HBO.
Chernobyl is so good.
So they were both the co-creators and writers of the TV show. And the score of the TV show was composed by Gustavo Santaolalla, who also composed the music for the game.
That's so fun. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so the fun fact that I had about Gustavo is that he won 2 Oscars for music scores.
Uh-huh.
And he did the score for Brokeback Mountain that he won an Oscar for, and also the movie Babel, but I don't know that movie.
I don't know that movie either.
Whatever. Brokeback Mountain's a great movie, though.
I haven't seen that in such a long time.
Oh, okay. But you've seen it. I was going to say, whoa.
Okay, for the folks who aren't in the room, her face looked horrified.
I just love that. It's such a good movie. I just can't quit you. Anyways. The show stars Pedro Pascal, Daddy, as Joel, and Bella I'm going to cut that.
No, keep it.
And Bella Ramsey as Ellie. And they were both in Game of Thrones. That kind of like kicked off their careers.
Oh, yeah,
so
they were.
Pedro Pascal was the Oberyn dude, and Bella Ramsey was...
She was a Lannister, wasn't she?
No.
Oh.
She was the like tough girl from the north. And then the other fun fact is that the actress who voiced Marlene in the games is the actress that's playing her in the TV show.
Oh, I read that.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yep. Some other fun facts about casting. Matthew McConaughey was actually originally offered the role of Joel and turned it down.
Oh, I'm so happy he turned that down.
No, he would have been good.
I just...
Were you not part of the McConaissance?
Okay, 1, that's not a word. But... 2,
Inception was good. Okay, Magic Mike, low-key great movie. The first one.
I think that he's great, but he's not Joel. He doesn't look like Joel.
Been good. I think he could have been good.
I mean, he's amazing in True Detective.
I'm glad Pedro Pascal got it.
He's more Joel to me.
I think he could have done it well. And then the other fun casting that I'm looking forward to is Nick Offerman as Bill.
Oh,
is
I
going to
didn't
be Bill.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
They announced his casting, so Nick Offerman's going to be Bill. He's not in the show yet, but
yeah, he should be in the episode.
and probably
the next episode,
the next one.
Yeah,
that I'm really excited about. A little bit about the making of, or how this kind of got to be a show, is it was originally going to be a movie. Like Sony wanted it to be a movie and sold the movie rights to a production company, and it got dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. And then Craig Mazin, who's like a huge fan of the game, was like, man, this really needs to be a TV show. TV is a much better format for this game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yes, I completely agree. And so he got a mutual friend to introduce him to Druckmann, convinced him that television was better, and then Druckmann and him made the pitch together to HBO for the TV show. So then that's how it kind of got created. But it was originally going to be a movie in like 2018 or 2017, really like quite a while ago. The other fun thing is that originally, I think it was Caitlin Dever, who's in Booksmart. Do you know the actress I'm talking about?
Yeah,
she was attached to the role of Ellie when it was going to be the movie.
Oh, okay.
But then she aged out of it. So they had to completely redo the casting for Ellie.
Well, when you do kids like that, it's too hard. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, like a fun fact. The budget for each episode was $10 million per episode.
Oh my gosh.
And they filmed the first season over the course of 200 days.
That's really long for a television show.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
It's pretty long.
Especially since I assume it will not be a very many episode season. Like, I assume
it's 9.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's,
And the other fun fact, the last fun fact about the making is the first 2 episodes were actually combined into one. So it was originally going to be 10 episodes. Then execs at HBO felt like the first episode was too slow.
I'd agree. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
First time ever that I've agreed with execs.
Yeah. But
usually
like,
movie execs are like do bad things to movies
or
TV shows or creative stuff, but I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they combined the first 2 to be the one.
What's funny too is that first episode, I was afraid it would be slow because the beginning of the game, it's a slow roll.
Pretty slow.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it, but I'm glad. That was a good call.
Same.
That was a good call.
Yeah. The reception, there's only 2 episodes out, but obviously it's like some people are saying it's like the best video game adaptation of all time.
Well, there hasn't been many, and the other one was like Halo, and Halo did not go well.
Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy.
Oh, no.
What a miss. There has been some. I'm not thinking of them right now, but there has been some. But
I guess there was a
people
Sonic
are saying it's
one,
like
and there's Pokemon.
Sonic is pretty good.
Was it?
I think Sonic is fun.
I never saw it
because it's fun.
It looked like a thing that was kind of for like furries. No judgment, do your thing, but like that's what it kind of looked like.
Oh, interesting.
Is that not what it was?
I didn't think about that. Forcing your brain. Okay, the show has a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
which
high.
is really good, and a user score of 96%. And the opening drew 4.7 million viewers in its first day, which is a lot.
I was gonna say, is
and
that a lot?
And it was the second biggest first episode in HBO's history. But the article that I wrote didn't say
what the first one
was. So I'm sorry, I don't have the first one.
God damn it, Maddie.
This is the second one. My guess is it's Game of Thrones or something.
I don't know that it was, because I thought Game of Thrones took like a couple of bits to really pop off. Did it not? Was it high right away?
I don't know.
I'm looking it up while you continue.
Okay, yeah. Go find the first. Oh, well, that's it. That's all I have. That's it. There is a lot of stuff, but I was trying to summarize it more quickly. I just thought those pieces were interesting.
House of Dragons.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
10 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because of the audience from Game of Thrones.
I mean, you already had the audience.
Yeah, you already had the audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I will say that one of the outside fun facts, the voices for Ellie and Joel will be playing characters in the show as just people.
Cool.
Yeah, they won't be Ellie and Joel, obviously. But they are going to be in the show, which is fun because they are actors and actresses.
Totally.
But I don't know who they're going to play. They had some stuff, but I tried not to dig too much because I didn't want to be spoiled on the show.
Yeah, I also didn't.
But they will be there somewhere.
All right. Let's talk about the show.
Cool. So the first episode kicks off, and already it is giving us, I think, a little bit more than what I expected.
Yeah.
It obviously is sticking very, very close to the game.
Yeah.
And I guess I shouldn't use the word obviously, because adaptations can do a pretty poor job of that sometimes.
Totally.
I think so far, Neil and Craig have done a really good job about identifying where it makes sense to veer away from the game and make different choices versus stay really close. At the beginning, it kicks off very, very similarly to the actual game itself, but they've made some changes.
They have. It starts with a talk show of two scientists talking about different types of pandemics that could, like, be a catastrophe.
Oh, right.
And the one guy talks about how a fungal, like, we don't have anything to fight that. So if, like, a fungal thing happens, we're pretty much
effed.
Yeah.
Right, because he says that thing that was so convincing to me about, like,
about the ant. He even talks about
the ants getting taken over, and then he said, of course, it can't survive in a human body unless for some reason it needs to evolve and adapt to higher temperatures, like if there was global warming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, could this really happen? No. And I think, I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
They're just trying to amp up the...
I know.
They
But it was
add
really
some
believable.
real science in there to make it... Yeah.
It was really believable. I actually read some articles about whether or not... After that, I was like, well, could that actually happen? People are like, no. There are other fungi that apparently could do some really scary stuff, but not cordyceps.
Okay, so then you get to the
like the intro of where the game would start. Yeah, which is, once again, the scenes with Joel and his daughter, Sarah. I love that they give a little bit more depth to Sarah's character here.
I did love it, yeah.
In the game, you just get a little bit of a glimpse. She's sleeping on the couch and Joel comes in and then it's his birthday. And she's like, oh yeah, like I got you this watch. So in the episode, you actually get to see how did she get the watch and how did she...
Get the watch fixed.
Fixed, yeah. And it answered some questions I actually had in the game, like, where did she get the money? Oh, she actually took it from her dad.
Yeah.
And so I really love that it gave a little bit more depth to her character. But they also did a really good job with starting to sneak in the fact that the pandemic was starting.
Yes.
Yeah. Which ones were you? So I have like one favorite, which was the really creepy ass grandma.
Oh, yeah. That was really creepy.
Yeah.
But the kid in school.
Oh, the kid in school.
Did you notice?
Okay, wait, hold on. No,
so,
tell me.
So she goes to school, you follow her, and there's a kid in class in the background that's starting to shake.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so scary.
They focus on it for like a second.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew you were supposed to pay attention to it, because it really wasn't much.
Yeah.
And she's still in the picture frame.
Yeah.
So you could not... It was blurred, and then it wasn't blurred.
For like a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about, they did, I think, something very, very similar with the grandma later.
Oh, God, that was so creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God,
no. So their neighbor has a old woman.
That he takes care of.
That he takes care of sitting in like a
Probably
wheelchair.
His grandma.
Probably the grandma. That's what I had just called her. Similarly, the other scene, they're focusing in on something else, and in the background, kind of blurry.
So oh, my God.
You
it
start
like really
seeing
gave
her,
me the
like,
heebie-jeebies.
yeah, she's like making weird faces and like moving and switching, and you're like, oh my God,
Dude,
oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Okay, this is gonna sound so bad, but like old people things in scary movies like really freaks me the fuck out.
No, it is. And this was next level. Like, they didn't do that in the game, and it was really fucking creepy.
Yeah, it was really creepy. So we don't actually even meet the neighbors in the game at all. They add this like storyline of, I guess, Sarah goes and like keeps them company sometimes.
Yeah.
Just being a good neighbor. And the dog starts to bark at the grandma too.
Yeah. Ugh.
Whereas before the dog liked the grandma.
Yeah. Those were all additions. And I think those served so well to add to the feeling of dread of what was about to happen.
Totally. The next thing that happens that I liked that they kind of explained is why he left. Because I remember in the game, I was like, why the isn't Joel there like at the beginning and Sarah's alone in the house like while shit's going down? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And he just comes back and you're like, well, there you go. In this, they had fallen asleep on the couch watching TV, and Joel gets a call from Tommy, and Tommy had accidentally gotten himself thrown in jail protecting someone but fighting someone.
Yeah.
So then he gets thrown in jail. Joel has to go pick him up and bail him out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sarah wakes up. He's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Realizes shit's going down because Grandma...
fucking freak.
Grandma's eating. Grandma's snacking. She's snacking on her son and daughter-in-law or something like that, whatever their relationships are, and starts running after Sarah. But right as Sarah runs into the street to get away from her, that's when Tommy and Joel pull up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I thought they did well more in this one is because I am from Austin.
Mm-hmm.
The city was Austin.
Oh.
And then it was like the suburbs of Austin too.
Okay.
So there's a scene where they pull up onto a road and it
Mm-hmm.
says Austin and San Marcos.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh yeah, that
That's
looks
fun.
like, yeah, like I thought it was well done.
Yeah. They also did a lot of really good scenes there that were like shot for shot what happened in the game during that drive. Like they showed the farmhouse burning again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really loved that.
Yeah, me too. I liked that added characterization for sure.
They kept the same spirit and vibe of the game too. It was the same pacing. I feel like they had some lines that I think were pretty identical. And the death scene of Sarah, again, almost identical, still so moving. I thought they did such a good job.
I cried.
Out. Yeah.
I cried in the show, not in the game.
Oh, I did both, but I'm
for
kind
some
of
reason
emotional.
Games, it takes a lot to get me to cry in a game.
Oh, I'm not like that. I just cry all the time.
For some
it's
reason,
a problem I have.
movies or TV shows get me more. I feel more immersed, maybe.
Well, and they did give you a lot more of Sarah this time too.
Totally.
I was surprised that I still ended up crying during that part because I thought since I knew it was going to happen, I was pretty like mentally prepared for it. But no, they still got me.
So then it does the same 20 years time jump, and it actually. Do you want to go for it?
Well. No, part of the reason that I'm going to say this got confusing to me because it was very different. And I think I wasn't prepared for how different they decided to cut the next part of the show because you start getting a little bit more of Tess earlier. That was a little different. You started getting a little of Ellie earlier. And I didn't entirely understand what they were trying to convey, especially with Tess's storyline. The beginning of the 20 years later, I think, starts with Tess.
It starts with a random scene of a kid dying.
Okay. It was just very confusing.
Well, it's not like random. I think they're just trying to show how brutal the world is. But essentially you see a kid who got bit and is infected and then...
Oh, yeah, the government took him in, like the military.
Government has to, like, euthanize him, essentially.
Yeah. The military... Oh.
In a really sweet way.
Yeah, the military was very sweet about it.
I will say, like, the woman that they got to play that role did a really good job.
She was so kind. She seems like, very kind.
Yes. She's like, I'm going to get you all the toys that you want and the food that you want. And he's just going to give you some medicine. And, you know that that's not medicine. And then it shows the bodies being burned. I thought that was a pretty brutal way to open it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is in line with the game, right?
Totally.
The game did not shy away from brutality and gore.
Yeah.
And I think that the show would be doing itself a disservice if it didn't take the same approach. And it did. Yeah.
And then you get to Tess, and she's getting beaten up by Robert. Sorry, is that his name?
So Robert is the name of the dude who took their weapon stuff in the game. But they pretty much bypassed that whole storyline.
I was happy for it, though. That storyline didn't do much for me in the game. I think what they were trying to do in the show is they were trying to get from 20 years later to Ellie as quick as possible.
Yes, which they did do.
Yeah. And I liked that they did that. And I think they were trying to jump through some mental hoops of why Joel and Tess would be smuggling them. Yeah. And so they had to set up a little bit of this Robert situation. That's just fair. For that. But
I think for me, the problem I had with the way that they framed this new thing wasn't because I thought that the first part of the game was riveting. Like, I agree with you. The first part was a slow roll. The Robert shenanigans, but I felt like the way that they had this new Tess character felt less of a badass.
She did feel less of a badass.
Yeah, like
she did. I'm disappointed in it for sure.
I was really disappointed. Yeah. I was like, Tess seems a lot less impressive.
I wrote interesting choice with the Tess character.
Yeah, in the game, I actually, honestly, it felt more like Joel was Tess's muscle.
Totally.
And Tess was over here running the show. She was walking around in the streets and the people were like, oh, it's Tess. And they like made sure that everything was like, okay, let's move aside. Let's make sure she gets through. And the way that they introed this Tess character with this new Robert situation.
Her getting beat up by Robert.
I was like, she wouldn't get beat up by Robert.
No.
I don't know. And I think it sat with me weird. And that's why I was so confused. I was like, in what world is Tess getting beat up? And then I got lost in the middle of the storyline. Like she ended up still being a little bit more of Tess later down the road. But because of her intro, it felt a lot less impressive to me as a character because I loved Tess the way that she was.
Yeah, I haven't looked at discourse, but I want to bet that that's probably the most contentious discourse is probably around the Tess character.
Yeah. It was a pretty big change, in my opinion, just for her character.
Then she turned into more, which I thought was also kind of weird. I was like, weird. But she didn't start off that way. The other thing that I had that I thought was really interesting choice that they made is Joel is, I almost said Pedro Pascal. Joel is a drug dealer?
Oh, yeah. That was a little confusing.
I know that there's smugglers in the game, but I guess I didn't connect that maybe smugglers also meant dealing drugs. But then they also showed that he had an addiction problem. Like he took a bunch of he was taking a bunch of pills and like drinking a lot.
Say that, yeah.
And so I also thought it was an interesting choice that they added addiction into the mix for him.
Yeah.
And it made sense. But then I don't think they gave that enough space. So then it was like, why did you show that? Yeah, it was like a one-off
weird thing.
Yeah, like why, unless they're going to explore that more. But I don't think they will.
Yeah, because I don't know where in the rest of the show you would have...
There's no room for it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of an interesting choice at the beginning. And then they showed a little bit of Ellie and Marlene at first, too.
Well, and so when we get to the Ellie and Marlene pieces, one, like, I love that Marlene is the same Marlene as before.
Badass.
Yeah.
Total badass.
My gut reaction, listen, I know there's been a lot of drama with Ellie. As Bella, or Bella as Ellie.
Wait,
like
really?
The casting. Wait, you haven't seen that?
No.
There's been so much drama about it listen, I'm not even gonna be nice, so sorry y'all if you're one of the people who have drama with this, but they're talking about how Bella isn't pretty and Ellie was. Yeah, it's real shitty. Yeah.
I even wrote, like, I love the actress.
Yeah. A lot of people are really mad about it, and there's like tons of posts. I hate
society sometimes.
I frequent Reddit a little too much, and the amount of people that are so miffed that Bella is the actress has me super peeved. I'm gonna say this next statement, and I'm gonna tell you that I do think that Bella's doing a really good job, but I'm gonna give a little bit of critique to the writers of the character at this first
opening piece. Got it.
Yeah. She seemed so angry and so gritty and so mean at the very beginning. And
waited on a little too much.
A little too much.
Yeah.
And I think as we get more into this...
But it got better. It's so weird.
It got better, yes.
This, like, middle slice
it
was weird.
It was weird, yeah.
It was, like, a span of 15 minutes where they made really interesting choices that felt really off for each of the characters, right? So, like, they had Tess getting beat up, and then they had Joel with an addiction issue, and then they had... Ellie being like
so angry, mean. Yeah, it wasn't even like her feisty, sassy, strong mean. No. It was vicious, mean.
It was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Then after that, they all are their characters again.
Yeah, which was also weird, but I was happy.
I was happy.
Yeah. I ended up liking Bella a lot in the role, so I don't mean to say that I didn't like her in it, and I think that I'll like her a lot more as the series goes on. But in that first scene, it also just felt so wrong. I don't know. That whole little chunk was weird.
Yeah.
Is weird.
Yep.
Maybe it would be less weird if I hadn't played the game. But what I actually had done was I had played a little of the game, and then I watched an episode until it actually worked out that I played exactly the amount of episode 1 game.
Cool.
And then I watched episode 1, and then I played the exact amount of episode 2, and then watched episode 2.
Cool.
So it was very fresh in my mind how different it felt doing both of them. And all of that felt wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it gets back on track.
Totally.
One of the things that they added that I liked that they added is they gave the Firefly organization a lot more depth in the show.
Mm-hmm.
They actually explained the purpose and stuff in a way. I thought they gave Marlene some additional depth as well that I liked, with the whole purpose of bringing democracy and stuff back. But also there's a moment where Marlene talks to another soldier, Firefly soldier or something. And the Firefly soldier is like, why are we doing this? And Marlene is like, we're losing. We're losing.
Yeah.
We're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
We've been at this for 20 years and we've gotten nowhere. We have to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was like a nice little addition that they had.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote, great choice skipping the Robert stuff. Like, great choice. Didn't need it.
Yeah. I do like, too, that you get a little bit more glimpse of how Ellie and Marlene have a relationship beforehand, too, because you don't really get that.
But I don't think that they added the stuff with the mom, which I thought was interesting. I wasn't picking up on that.
So they said one line, and the reason that I have this is because later at the end, I'm going to go on to a spiel about one thing that they changed that I thought was really weird that popped up in a lot of places. But they had a conversation where Marlene was like, I wanted you to be safe, so I made sure that you went to this government school, this military school. They had a line in there about Marlene, for some reason, being the reason and the choice behind why Ellie had been living in Fedra's military school. So there was hints there. They haven't talked about the relationship with the mom yet for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But there were little pieces of, oh, that's interesting, because I hadn't gone to that part in the game yet.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea that they had like this back history. So seeing her mention, I was the reason that you were in that school or whatever, I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. I didn't catch that at all.
I wrote it down.
None of that. Yeah.
for a totally different reason, which we'll talk about later. A couple of other things. They added additional context to the world around the way the smugglers worked that I thought was really fun.
Yeah.
They had the scene when Joel and Ellie are back in the apartment waiting for like a second. It was like scene for scene what it was in the game. It was really fun to see. She even calls out his broken watch, which I thought was like the perfect tone. It was exactly what it should have been. Yeah. Really good. And they talk later about the smuggler signal and the radio and how if you play like different decades of songs, it means different levels of danger.
Yeah.
And Ellie's trying to guess what they mean and tricks Joel into admitting the fact that it is a smuggler signal. So
yeah,
I really did enjoy some of the new stuff they added, and I thought it got really funny and playful, and they captured Ellie's spirit really well.
Yes.
Like near the end of that first episode. I think that by the end, I was on board. In the beginning, I was meh with it, and I was like, oh no.
I love the
end,
opening, that middle piece, and then the end. I agree.
Yeah. And the first episode leaves you on that end of, isn't it right after they get out of the city?
I watched them back to back. So
oh, okay. So I'm pretty sure the first one ends right after they get out of the city. The military person catches them that apparently is friends with Joel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then they kill him. Even though they're friends, they know each other.
Yeah.
They're like friendly, I guess. Yeah. It was a little weird that they were friendly also, because in the game, they were never friendly.
Yeah. Well, I liked that they added a little character.
Yeah. They end, I believe, with the really pretty view out. And I think that's about where they end for the first episode, if I remember. Yeah.
Okay. Episode 2. It blended for me, so I don't know where it starts.
Okay.
You'll have to tell me.
This one starts with, I love her so much. It starts in Indonesia.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So similar to the first episode, they decided
I do love that they added this.
Yeah. They decided to do more context and background into the science behind the fungus, where it started, how it worked. I loved this edition. It was so good. So they had...
So creepy.
They kidnap this professor, this professor of fungi, mycology. Yeah. She is taken to this place to look at a body, and they're saying, hey, this weird stuff is happening, go look at it. We get this dead dude laying on a surgical table.
Girl.
I just put the body everywhere. There's this body laying on the table, and this professor, she's looking at the wound and looking at stuff, and all of a sudden, these tendrils.
Well, not all of a sudden. She
reaches
into the mouth. No, it was very creepy.
Yeah.
So she's like dissecting the body a little bit because they've said, oh, there's fungus in a person. And she's like, impossible.
No. Yeah.
I've been studying this my whole life.
Yeah.
And she reaches into the mouth and then pulls out the little things, and then...
Oh, they're wiggling. Oh, they're just tendrils wiggling everywhere.
Oof. So creepy.
It's disgusting.
And out of the mouth of the dead body, fungus is kind of like waving a little bit. Ooh, creeping out.
Waving.
Ooh.
Hey guys, what's up?
It's so creepy. It's so creepy.
It was gross. I have like 10 vomit emojis. It's disgusting. But the mycology professor is fucking dope. Damn respect to that girl. She is awesome. They ask for her recommendation. They're like, what do we do? And she's like, bomb it. Bomb it all.
Bomb the city.
Yeah. Which, you know what? I love that they explain that too, because I was always really confused in game why everything was so destroyed sometimes. And they talked about bombing stuff. And I'm like, why would they bomb? That doesn't make sense. And I loved that the professor was like, literally the best thing you can do is try to kill everyone that has this as fast as possible. Bomb everything.
Yeah.
Can I go home to my family now? Thanks. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a good bit.
It was good. I love that they added that.
Yeah, me too.
And then it jumps back into the story where they are on their trek trying to deal with the fact that they have just found out that Ellie is theoretically immune. I don't know that I have too many thoughts about that, except for we got a lot more insight into the distrust, I think, that Tess and Joel had against Ellie, which I don't think we saw in the game.
One thing that they added that I loved also was the fungus acting as a unit, which the game didn't go into either.
Yeah.
So there's a moment where they're on a bridge that's like an overlook, like a highway. What were these things called? Clovers? I don't know.
I put fucking mob overlook is how I described that.
Yeah. Yeah, so they look out and there's a huge amount of infected.
Disgustingly
just
large.
On the ground. And they're all acting as a unit trying to get away from the sun as like beams of light kind of... Because there's clouds, so sometimes it'll show up, and when it shows up, they'll like try to move out of the way, and they're acting as kind of a breathing...
I did not notice that that's what they were doing. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah, it's like
it's
like a breathing unit, like trying to get away from the sun. I just thought that was really interesting. And then Tess talks about how they're connected underground. And so if you step on something in one place, it could awaken infected in another place. Horrifying. And send them your location.
Yeah.
Which would explain why they also run up out of nowhere sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like it was adding like some more science. And she's like, I know that this is scary, but it's important you know this. I'm trying to protect you. And I thought that was a nice moment.
Yeah.
And a cool little bit of explanation. Then they go into a building, and that's where they meet their first clicker.
Yeah.
And Ellie didn't know that clickers existed before this
Which is really interesting, because that says a little bit to the world that she had been living in before, is that it was so boxed in that she didn't even know that those existed. When you think about the game and the fact that she had been bitten before, she had been in places where the infected were, but not where they had been infected for that long. Because that's...
To be a clicker.
Yeah, because it takes time to become
like
a clicker.
a Pokemon evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they just die though, right? Because they showed some bodies that were just completely overtaken and weren't even...
Yeah. So what I had read a little bit about the cycle, the life cycle of this cordyceps, is that they had built it to be at some point the body just can't handle it anymore. But the whole point of this fungus is that it spreads as far as possible because it's trying to survive, right?
Yeah.
Its last phase is whenever the body decides that it can't go on anymore for whatever reason, it just kind of like melts back into the environment. It becomes this big, like grotesquely beautiful fungus sculpture, then starts emitting those spores into the air to get more people sick. We didn't really talk about the spores much before because it's not really a big thing, but they totally get rid of it in the show. Even though they become like these kind of weirdly beautiful art pieces.
They might bring back the gas masks.
From what I read, I think they plan on just culling it. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I don't mind
it's
if they
not like
cull
a
it.
make or break.
No, in the game, it made it tense sometimes because you're like, oh god, it's a little spory in here. Like
I can't see anything.
Yeah, and I'm gonna like meet something soon. But it never really made sense to me in game because the science never worked out in my head. I was like, okay, one, if you can catch it in the air, I'd be wearing a mask all the goddamn time.
Yeah,
like come on. And then he would take the mask off as soon as he walked out of it. I'm like, it would still be there, dude. Put it back on.
Yeah.
And
no,
so
it's inconsistent.
Yeah, so I'm just happy they just tossed it.
Yeah.
And I love the direction they took instead with they're all interconnected, because that was cool. Yeah. So I didn't mind that they got rid of it, but.
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't married to it either. After your clicker interaction, you get to the thing, and obviously everyone's dead again, which we knew from playing the game. Tess is, again, like, this is where I stay, and you have to keep going because I believe in her. Which was interesting because in this version, they just had it be the Horde was coming versus the military is coming. So she starts spreading gasoline everywhere, and her plan is attract the Horde to me. I'm going to blow everything up.
Yep.
Because Ellie steps on something.
Right, yeah. And it awakens the Horde.
And it awakens, because remember how Tess had said,
yeah,
they're connected underground, you step on
which
something.
was such a cool moment.
Yeah, that was like a good moment. Ellie and Joel bail. And then they made a really interesting choice where a zombie walks in and makes out with Tess. And then she sets it on fire. It's a weird ass choice.
It is the weirdest makeout scene I think I've ever seen in TV history. It's
so
gross.
fucking weird.
I do think that it served.
I need to read about that. I haven't read anything about it because I watched it literally today. So I was like, I'm still processing, and I can't come up with a reason why that was in there.
So I tried to read about it because I was like, that fungus makeout scene, why the fuck would you ever do that? I think what there may be the direction they're trying to take it, especially with all the fungus is connected, is that they recognize that she was one of them now and was trying to peacefully make a connection versus viciously. And you only get viciously like attacked if you're trying to reject whatever. But she was just standing there and she wasn't fighting back. So they were like, hello, welcome to the fungus group. We're pretty fun guys. I'm just kidding. Let me make out with you with my tendrils.
Boo.
Anyway, it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird.
That was a choice.
Yeah. No, my...
Okay, I get it. I see what you're saying. Kind of like Avatar when they connect their tails.
Kinda, yeah. But like grosser.
But grosser.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she drops the lighter.
The lighter. She has like a very cliche moment where she can't turn on the lighter. Yeah.
Turn on the lighter. I hate when shows do that. So,
I know.
Okay, you're adding anxiety for no reason.
Right.
And there's the end of the second episode.
Yeah. So the reason that I wanted to add my thing at the end is because I think it goes over both episodes a little bit, and I might be conspiracy theorying a little bit. Okay, so you're going to let me conspiracy theory, and you can tell me, Bridget, that I'm a dummy. That's fine. So a ton of semi-big changes had to do with going from negative military to pro-military.
Whoa.
Yeah. So here's my list, my conspiracy theory.
Whoa.
I know. Okay, so very first one, being friends and humanizing the soldier that they have to kill when they come and crawl out of the city. So like before he was just some stranger enemy dude. And now he has a face and a personality. He's warned them, please don't cause trouble right now. There's a thing. He's become a human and he is like an actual character. And so they've humanized this one dude as a part of the military. The second bit is the government taking in that one kid and that girl being so nice to him. Like she was a kind, calming presence in that moment.
Yeah.
And she was so sweet. It was not mechanical at all. She was very kind.
Yeah.
They had Marlene saying that she gave Ellie to the military so she would be safe. Literally said like, even though she's a Firefly, which doesn't make any sense at all because they are against the military.
Ooh,
she says that she gave Ellie to the military school so she'd be safe. She also had the moment where, and I know that they might have just left this out because they changed up the scenes with Robert and stuff, but in the game we get a couple moments of Marlene being pretty mean about the military. We get a scene where some of her men have been killed by soldiers and she walks over to them and like mourns them a little bit. And she's like, these were great guys. They just kill people. They just kill people without any, like thought. They just kill them. She's very emotional about it. And then you have that one that doesn't exist in the show. Maybe they left it out just to leave it out. But her character instead says, again, you'll be safe with the military, Ellie. So I'm going to put you there with them. Like that kind of thing. So it's a weird changing character. And then, of course, at the very end, of that second episode, the Capitol building, where they're supposed to be attacked by the military, the big scene where the military attacks them for reasons I still don't understand why they would go out there to do it. Still don't get it. They don't.
Because they're outside and they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, but they took it out.
They took it out.
And it's the mobs instead. And so in this show, the military is not an enemy.
Well, they showed one scene of them being really brutal where if someone leaves, they'll hang them.
But I don't know. It felt weird. That's that's my mini conspiracy theory.
I'm so on board with this.
That's my thing. Well, see, maybe the rest of it is
I don't think it's a conspiracy.
It might be
now
red
that you
herring.
say that, I'm bought in.
I'm
bought in.
I honestly, at the very beginning, it just threw me off, and I was like, they seem to be nicer to the military. That feels a little weird. And
You're really right.
And then when I had this hypothesis in my head, and I'm like, you know what? At the Capitol building, like, the military attacks them, and they'll have to confront it. They'll see how they handle it. And then they didn't. They just didn't have them attack it.
They didn't.
And, maybe they made the choices because they thought it would be better. I did love the new scene, and I love the way that the fungus talks now. Maybe they just made the decision because they were like, the fungus is a more interesting enemy than the military is. But it's still really interesting that they would make those choices. So I don't know.
I mean, I think it's interesting for them both to be the enemy.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my conspiracy theory for the day so far.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems a little bit more pro-military, which is a little interesting.
That is super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now a member of this conspiracy theory.
You can let me know how you feel after a few more episodes in, but it's yanking on my little red flag.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. There's the first 2 episodes. I really liked it, actually.
I ended up liking it. Yeah. I think I was a little worried there for a part of it, but I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm looking forward to seeing how they do the Bill's town scenes in the next episode.
I'm really looking forward to So the first season is supposed to cover the first game and the DLC.
I'm excited to keep watching it.
Me too.
I am curious to see how far they will stray from the game or not. So we'll find out. So far, it seems pretty close-ish. Yeah.
Okay. There's the part 2. Last of Us, part 1, part 2.
I was going to say, I'm like, we're not allowed to say part 2 because that might get a little confusing because it's still
Last of Us, part 1, part 2. The TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and rate it. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Baddy Breakdowns, and visit our website, baddybreakdowns.com, made by Bridget Keene. The podcast art was done by Tanisha Vernikar, and the podcast was edited by me, Maddie Wisnat. Join us next time to hear us 2 baddies break down a short hike.
Yay.
I'm so excited. This was so intense emotionally. I'm excited to play it. It's been on my list for so long.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
See
Thanks, y'all.
Next week.
Bye.